Previously on this channel.
Look at this. Am I a wolf or a chipmunk?
And now this is the second part.
What's up, goblins? It's me, Kosha the Bat. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you have also watched part 1 of making my first fursuit head. If you haven't, please go check it out. You're pretty much going to miss a lot. I'm not going to summarize a lot of what happened in the previous video. The rest of the videos that I'm going to show in this one are pretty much going to sum up the process. Nothing much happens in this part of the video. I had already sewed the face together and I was about to shave it, as you can see right now. I'm shaving it down so it's a lot easier for me to sew the face onto the back part of the head. Now that I was done sewing the cheek fur onto each side of the face, I was left with this horrifying thing. And yeah, I hate it too.
Mostaza, había una oferta de que...
Anyways, I think I just traumatized you enough. This is the part where I start actually sewing the ears and the back of the head and the face all together. So at this point, Autumn was almost complete. I just needed to shave her down, but before I did that, I remembered to sew her cheek fur to the back of her head. So I did something that I dreaded, and I went outside to shave in 90 to 100 degree weather, which I did not like. It was not enjoyable. After that shave, she looked a lot better than she did when I furred her. I forgot to mention the reason why she has paper towels in her eyes and mouth is because I didn't want any stray hairs falling inside the head. And speaking of the eyes, it was time to actually make her eyes. Now, since I didn't want to make the follow me eyes, I just settled on making the 2D eyes. now that the eyes had been glued in, I decided to move on to the eyelashes, and I even gave her some eyebrows. I gave her one of her most important design details, and it's the scar on one of her eyebrows. Now, for anyone planning to do fan art, please leave in the scar. It is very important to her design. And now, the next step was to move on to the neck. I sewed the neck onto the head off screen, and now it was time to move on to sewing the lining onto the neck, which I also did off screen because it would be very time consuming. The next thing to do was the tongue. Now, I wanted to get some Velcro so I would be able to detach the tongue and put in a longer one, but that never happened. So in the end, I just hot glued it on. Now, the final thing to add to this head was the hair. Now, the hair in the front was pretty easy. You just get like 2 pieces of faux fur and then brush them down, sew them together, and just put them on the head. But for the back of the hair, it wasn't so easy. It took me ages to cover it. And that's because I was using the same technique as the hair in the front. Luckily for me, I found several tutorials on how to make fursuit hair, and one of the most common tutorials is basically getting faux fur and getting your slicker brush and basically brushing the back of the fur. So it basically forces the fibers in, and it makes the fur look more fluffier on both sides. and that was really just a total lifesaver. The head was finally done at this point. Now I'm just brushing it down to make it look more smoother. So that was Autumn's head. She took me a total of 4 weeks to make, and now I think it's time for a proper reveal.